Hey everybody, welcome to Spill the Novelty, where three girlies shout into the void about our latest book hot takes and obsessions. I'm Abby,
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaylee.
and this week we're talking about Book of Night by Holly Black. So if you're a Holly Black stan from the Cruel Prince series and you want to dip your toes into Holly's first new adult book, or if this book has been on your TikTok FYP for ages, relatable, here's the tea.
All right. So to start, we have Charlie Hall, and Charlie is a well-known con artist and thief. She's known as the Charlatan. I think that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, she can steal anything from anyone and con anyone due to this upbringing of learning how to be a con. And at the beginning of the book, she's sort of trying to get away from stealing and conning, but she ends up kind of getting sucked back in, which we'll get into. Personally, I think Charlie is so cool. Like, I love that she has neck tattoos and she isn't your typical looking female main character. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I also love that she's kind of morally gray. Like, in the beginning of the book, I think she sees a dead body, like, laying on the side of the road, and she's like, she sees it, and instead of calling the police or anything that a moral character would do, she's just like, I don't really want to get tied up in this, so I'm just gonna mind
Not
my
my
own business.
business.
And she just walks on
So
home
real.
and goes on with her life.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that about her. Like I'm for a morally gray character.
Yeah, she's not as fragile as we normally get with like these like fantasy main female characters where they're like, oh, and I just kept seeing the dead body every time I closed my eyes. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, in real life, that would probably be me. Like, don't get me wrong. But like
Same.
in the book,
Sure.
I want you to be kind of a bad bitch, okay? Like, we don't gotta be that worked up
Yes.
about stuff like this.
It's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. Chill
Yeah,
out.
get over it. People die all the time.
Especially dealing with some spooky shit. It's like we can't be scared by these little things. A dead body in an
Right.
Yeah.
alley. Okay, well we have a monster to encounter in like 2 chapters from now. So
Yeah. We
gotta
have to roll with the
gotta build up some
punches here.
tolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I felt similarly about her. I was super worried that she was going to be so like not like other girls. Like she was kind of giving like very Tumblr 2014 like I'm so goth and I'm just nothing gets to me da da da. But like the way it was done was so authentic that I found myself just really liking her and like it didn't bug me at all. I just fell in love with like everything about her. Like especially um the way like her lifestyle is portrayed, like she's very poor and she lives like someone who is like very poor, and like the little things and little
Yeah.
details that are mentioned about like the way she eats and the way she kind of scrounges together in her apartment and like the way that she lives, you know, with her sister and the whole living arrangement, like it's all just very authentic to like the experience. I'm like, okay, Holly, okay, all right, I
Mhm.
see you, okay, queen. So yeah, it just, and it makes a lot of sense with like why she feels the way she does, why she's jaded the way that she is, and it just all really pulled together in a character that I found to be very morally gray for reasons that make sense and for reasons that make you like love her even though she is making morally gray decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
true.
And I think I had the same kind of feelings like building up at first. And something I'll talk about a little bit more too is that as we talked about in our group chat, I wasn't feeling the book at first, admittedly. It took me some time to warm up to it. But once I did, I was very into it. I enjoyed it a lot. But um, I think once we get to really see like her motivations for her personality, so to that point, Maddie, like it makes sense that she's a thief. It makes sense that she does all these things for herself and for her sister, for her family. And she's just really clever. I love her
Mhm.
backstory, and she's just sharp and fun and flirty all at once, and I love it. So
Yeah.
stamp of
I
approval.
love that you mentioned that she's clever because that's something that I forgot about, but I really loved about her too. Like the whole book swap at the end of the book, for example, like little things like that. Like she outsmarted me as the reader a lot, which I really
Mm-hmm.
liked because I am pretty good at predicting books, and I didn't predict the whole book swap thing happening. And I didn't even like fully understand what was happening at first, and then I was like, "Oh, that's really smart," which I love that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, she kept us on our toes, which was really fun as a reader.
Yeah.
Because we read so much that it's hard to do that. Like, we're a tough audience to sell to for that kind of stuff.
True.
Yeah. Especially for our main character, I feel like we have a lot of we're a hard sell, so she's pretty good.
And
She's pretty
I
good.
think a lot of authors, especially recently, like, and I think some of this is due to first person POV. It can be very difficult to keep secrets from your readers because your main character is obviously like thinking about all these things. So it's very difficult to do in a way that still keeps your readers engaged and not over informed. And I think Holly Black does like a really, really good job of writing that line of like, we're with her, we're with Charlie, we know what she's doing, but like, oh, she surprised us with this, or like, you know, she didn't talk us through every little minute detail that she was thinking so that we can have that big payoff moment, you know?
Yeah, that's very true.
Slay.
10 out of 10.
Slay. So with our love of Charlie, we have to talk about the world that she's in. So the main concept of this book is pretty kooky. It's a first for me for sure.
Yeah.
But the concept is basically everyone has a shadow, of course, but some people are known as glomists, and their shadows can actually basically be like sentient beings. They can kind of there's a whole range of shadows and their abilities and like what they can do, and a lot of it depends on like basically how you foster and like raise your shadow and how you feed it. And then you can also lose your shadow, like someone could cut your shadow off of you and then sew it onto themselves. It's a whole thing. It's very, very fascinating. It felt very fresh to me. I personally love a book too that is like a little bit time jumpy. Like I like a flashback moment and then we're back in the present, and it's kind of giving you pieces that are revealing things about the present day rather than kind of front loading all of the lore. So that worked out really well for me. But just like the whole concept in general, I really liked not knowing what to expect out of the magic system, and especially like the fact that you could just cut someone's shadow off and like sew it onto yourself, and like the whole like shadow black market. I was like, oh, this is so fun and cool and weird.
Very cool.
It's very cool.
And
I
think that we like, oh sorry, I was gonna say I think that we like gory and kind of dark things, particularly like interspersed with fantasy. Not so much of like to complete like horror level, but I like to see a little bit of it tied in. And I think particularly with just the manipulation of the shadows or like the cutting off of it, the monster that it kind of creates, like, ooh, I ate that up. I ate that up to the point about like time jumps. My one complaint about this book that was the start of this book for me, it's a good complaint to have if you're gonna have a complaint, was just that it was so much to take in that I did have some trouble like figuring out the hell is a glomist, what is this, what is that. At the end of the day, again, good complaint to have because it was a really cool world to be in. It was just a lot to take in with time jumps and kind of being in the moment, but worth it because it was just really cool and very original compared to other stuff. I think
you're not alone in feeling that way, Abby, because like I read a lot of reviews about after reading this book, because I do that when I really like a book, and a lot of people felt very confused a lot of the time, and that's why they rated the book kind of low. Like I think it only has like 3.5 average or something like that on Goodreads. And so, but personally, like, I didn't mind that it was a little confusing because it never felt info dumpy to me. And a lot of books that we've read recently have felt very info dumpy, and I've still liked some of them, but this one, like, it did a really good job of keeping us on our toes, like we were saying earlier, and like kind of leaving us in the dark when we were supposed to be left in the dark, and I like that a lot. I like to feel a little confused too because it makes me feel a little like academic, you know.
I was just gonna say, I think this is just like a reading preference thing, so there's no right or wrong, but like I cannot stand when there's so much explanation and info dumping that I've basically fully understand a story because the plot has stopped to the point where I can get there. I would way rather feel like I'm kind of piecing things together as the plot is moving and pieces are being revealed to me. Like, I almost relish in the confusion because that means things are happening. And, like, I felt the same way about, like, Six of Crows, too. It's like, it took me a
Mm-hmm.
long time to even get, like, all those powers situated in my brain, and honestly probably like a full second read through to fully like understand what was going on and pick up the
Yeah.
details I missed the first
Mm-hmm.
time. But I like that. I like the author assuming that I'm going to be smart enough or just down enough to kind of just go with the plot, because I don't want to stop and
Mm-hmm.
like you explain to me like the first globus occurred in 1861 and then blah, 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 blah. Like I don't need all that, honestly. Like when that is in a book,
Yeah.
I skip it because I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like I just want the practical
Same.
information. Like treat me like I'm a thief on the street and you're like, all right, brother,
Yeah.
so here's what you need to know about glomus.
Yeah, and
I think
that's also the difference between like a young adult and a new adult, I think, is like, so like if we think
Mm.
about like Cruel Prince, if we're comparing like not apples to oranges, but kind of apples to apples because they're both like Holly Black. But if you think about Cruel Prince, like you're never really confused at all in those books
Mm-hmm.
because they're very like clear, like the world's very like it's just like black and white, very clear, easy to understand. But new adult should be a little bit harder to read. Like it should challenge you a little bit more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so I like that about this book.
And I think that's something too where I think when we chatted about it like over text, I came to a point where I was like, maybe the first 25-30% was how it felt for me of just okay, there's a lot of jumping around, stuff like that. But then the payoff is so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because at first you're kind of like, okay, really cool world. I'm not so sure yet. I don't know if I like all these time jumps to like her and is it Rand, the guy that something
Mm-hmm.
like that, Randy, I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The guy
Right.
that she kind of learns how to be a thief from and everything. Um, and then I think that's when it really turns though for me and it starts picking up and like that time jump really starts to pay off. The little bits and
Mm-hmm.
pieces of lore start to really tie together. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all depends on like how it lands. This one lands really well. And so that's why I say if I had to give it a criticism, it's that, but not even really because it ends up paying
Yeah,
off.
the
So
payoff is worth the
I
stress in
do
the
like
beginning.
it's worth it. For sure. For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So
Yeah. Because, I mean,
One other really cool thing about the setting is that, like we were talking about glow mists and stuff and how they can steal people's shadows. And we kind of get the feeling that Charlie might become a glow mist in this
mm-hmm.
book, but then she kind of doesn't. Like that never fully comes to fruition or whatever. And I love that because like we get the whole not like other girls feeling like we were talking about earlier, but she is kind of like she's not that unique in the way that she's not a glow mist. Like she doesn't have these special powers. I mean, she kind of does, but they're not like super mega powerful or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
which is cool. Like I like
Yeah,
that's unusual
she's
for books that we've read at least.
exactly. And this is what I'm always
mhm.
on my soapbox about like your main character does not need to tick every box in your magic system. Like they
Mm.
do not need all the powers. They need skills that can be applied across situations. Like they need problem solving. And that's what we see here is like she's
Great
very
smarts.
skilled. She's very smart. Like she is
Mm-hmm.
literally going up against people that for all intents and purposes like should easily defeat her in the grand battles that she goes in. And that's why we root for her. She's an underdog. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
she's not an underdog that suddenly becomes the most rare, like, oh, people are only allowed to have one shadow and she has six. How did this happen? Like, please.
Yeah.
Actually is a shadow. Well, I guess
Mm.
that card does get pulled, but it works.
It
It works.
does, but not for
Not worse.
her. Not for her.
Not for
So to that
her.
point, totally not a spoiler. If you don't want spoilers, why are you listening? So to that point, within this really cool world, we have Charlie, who is dating and living with this guy, Vince, who has a lot of secrets, including not having a shadow, but he never really tells Charlie how he lost it. And then one day, Charlie decides to kind of go through his things because she starts to feel a little suspicious or just kind of weirded out, and finds that he is actually a man named Edmund, or so we think. And this guy, Edmund, was supposed to have died years ago. He's the grandson of the big bad of the book, Salt, who Charlie has her own past with, and we'll get to in a moment. And so we have this character, Vince, who I really like from the get-go. I like that he was imperfect. He was hiding something, but he obviously is very cares for Charlie a lot, and they have like a lot of these sweet moments. He has a lot of these sweet moments in particular, and I think that they were a good fit because they both had things to hide, because they both have these pasts that have kind of made them who they are and are clever in
Mm-hmm.
their own kind of ways. So I was a fan from the jump, I will say.
Yeah. I was also a
Yeah, one
fan.
thing.
Go ahead, Kaylee.
Okay. Um, One thing that I really liked about their relationship is that, like, she admits very early on that she feels like there's something missing from their relationship, and she kind of reiterates that
Mm-hmm.
throughout the beginning of the book. And her sister even says, like, there's something missing, like, why are you with him? And instead of like jumping ship like you would normally see in books or another love interest coming in, their relationship like really evolves throughout the book, and Vince really, really evolves throughout the book. And
True.
and it works. Like it works for them. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that she didn't jump ship, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. I liked that Holly Black does a really great job of setting up their relationship as this very fragile piece where it's like, don't look too close at it, don't ask too many questions. Like, he's a really good guy. Like, Charlie herself is like, he's so nice, like, he's so dependable, like, he has no reason to be with me. There must be something wrong with him for him to choose me. And he's just kind of chilling, trying to like mind his own business, sort of a thing. And like, I just love that dynamic. And also the fact, just like you said, Kaylee, like, I totally did not expect him to be the love interest for the book. I thought this was
Mm-mm.
like our starter boyfriend where we're going to kick him to the curb because we were going to get some badass
Mm-hmm.
like shadow boy, which we kind of do.
Mhm.
But the
We
fun
do.
thing is like, because
True.
like we find that out through their relationship evolving, and like it's not just, people are who you meet on the surface. It's like you have to get to know people, and that doesn't always happen within 1 week of dating them, where we get in a lot of fantasy books where
Mm-hmm.
they're like, I'm in love with you and I know everything about you after this like 3-day adventure that we've had, or like whatever. So I
Yeah.
don't know, I just loved it.
Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
together for like I think a year or something
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Like they've been together long enough to where their relationship has like settled in.
Yeah.
They're
Mm-hmm.
comfortable. Yeah.
And I think to your point too, Kaylee, about again, as we've discussed before, new adult versus like YA, I think that continuing that relationship where there are these things like distrust, but it's not yeah, black and white, and it's not always just like this big thing, right? It's the
Mm-hmm.
everyday in and out relationships, the little hints that something's kind of off, but also really good moments, and balancing that out and like risk reward. And so I agree. I think Holly Black did a great job of planting those seeds. And yeah, good character. Go for it.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We love Vince. Um. Okay. So a lot of other stuff happens, like especially at the beginning of the book, but the main plot doesn't happen till later, so we'll kind of just jump to the main plot. So Salt, who we kind of already mentioned, that's Edmund slash Vince's alleged grandfather. I don't know why I said alleged. It's really his grandfather.
It is.
Um, yeah, but he forces Charlie, like he holds her at gunpoint to agree to search for a book called the Liber Noctum,
Mm-hmm.
which allegedly, I'll use the word correctly this time, allegedly reveals a way to make a shadow turn into a tangible human.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, this felt a little bit cheesy, villain esque to me, especially like holding her at gunpoint. I get that there are stakes involved and everything, but it did feel a little cheesy. But I still liked it. I liked it. I like how Charlie had memories of her first encounter with Salt from her childhood, and so those memories were kind of being like, I don't know, trickling in like
Mm-hmm.
through these chapters as this happens, as she searches for the book. We're like, it's not thrown at us all at once, but instead we're learning about it in small chunks through these flashbacks. which is really creative, and I really, really liked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm kind of a sucker for the whole like underground crime syndicate sort of thing, and like I love that Charlie has this reputation. She's trying to run from it, and it's very much like, hey, once you're in the mafia, like you don't just get to opt out. Like you have to do what we say or there are consequences for that. So honestly, like the setup didn't bug me. And I think too, like when you're dealing with kind of a complicated plot like we talked about, like you're introducing a lot of new elements that your readers may not be familiar with, I think it's good sometimes to lean on something that's a little bit more cheesy in setup, just to give your readers something to kind of like hold on to that's like, okay, this pattern is kind of familiar to me. I understand clearly he's the big bad. Like I understand kind of like this setup, and it's easier for me to digest all the new information alongside those familiar elements. But yeah, I loved the deep lore. And I loved the flashbacks because it keeps the scenes like super thick with tension without having to like write it into the actual scene. Like you just know. You're like, oh shit, this is the guy.
Yeah, it's different from other books where like they'll be in the action and it'll be like, oh, I remember when I was a kid, and then there will be like three paragraphs about like this event that happened. And it's like in real life, if you were being held at gunpoint, you don't have time to think about like, oh yeah, remember when I was a kid and like this happened and this happened. But like I like that we didn't get that. So,
yeah, the supernatural dialogue of like, yeah, you know, my neighbor who when I was 12, he blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. Like
so casual.
Yeah.
How I talk to my neighbor, actually. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cheesy, but I think what's fun about this book is, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but with the gore, with the mysteries, with the like, just like all the hints and all that, I think it's kind of genre bendy a little bit, right? It's a fantasy, but you very much get these kind of mystery elements and stuff like that, which is fun, is cool. Like talked about earlier, because there's a lot of stuff going on. I do like that. I don't mind the time jumps, but the one thing I will say with like the main plot, there are a couple particular like side quests in the main plot that I did think were like a little, like the whole thing with Adam, again, I'm not gonna remember all the details, but
Adam.
She like goes to this hotel to go get this dude.
Kaylee's like, I don't even remember Adam. What are you talking about?
It's like, I don't know.
It's not the main book. It's like journal entries, I think. There are a couple parts of that where like there's this party they go to where I think really the whole point ended up just being like kind of shedding some light on like her relationship with Vince and people being kind of distrustful of Vince. So and this is fine, again, minimal critique for how good the book is. There are just some things like in a plot that is so good. There were some of these like little side quests that to me felt a little much, or just a little hard to keep track with when we're also getting lore, your backstory, and kind of time jumps. But the main plot I liked a lot. This idea of seeking out this book, everything she goes through at the end, which we'll talk about later. I loved that. I thought cool blend of fantasy and mystery, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's a fair criticism. I do personally, I like it because I like getting dropped into a world that feels like there's stuff going on outside of the main character, and like I don't need it to actually feel like it starts. I know this is like the most common writing advice you ever get is like your story starts when your reader starts reading it. So like it needs to start at the inciting incident. Like I would rather start in the middle of some other shit and then like we build up to it, because like that just feels more realistic to me. Like there's moving parts. There's like, I loved with the whole Adam thing, the fact that like his girlfriend is reaching out to Charlie and she's like, I think he's cheating on me. I need you to follow him. And she's like, what the fuck are we even talking about? Like, again, that is just a situation that feels so authentic to me, because I'm like, that is some shit that would happen like in this world where it's like you're trying to do this like cool thievery, there's shadows, and then at the end of the day you still have friends that are trying to hit you up and be like, can you go spy on my boyfriend for me? girl, I have a specialized set of skills. Yeah. But yes, I will.
My resume.
I liked it for a similar reason, but kind of different. But I like being led kind of on a little like chase, especially in mystery books. Like I don't want to know exactly where the story is going, like from point A to point B. I like there to be a point A and then point like 1A and 2A, and then I want to get to point B. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to go on that little chase that the author creates.
Yeah. I think particularly that I felt like that one subplot though was like it wasn't because like we know that she's a bartender, right? Like we know that she kind of hangs out these clubs. There's some side characters there. Like I feel like you still get a lot of like her life happening, right?
Abby, just say you're an Adam hater and go.
I am. I'm not the only one apparently in the book. So yeah, I didn't mind it. I did feel like it was kind of like a lengthy subplot to have when you're also keeping everything else together. But
fair enough.
Again,
minimal, I think that's fair. And especially for like you, like the beginning was tough for you, right? So it's like I totally get that. Like that's the space that it has.
Struggling, you guys.
Yeah.
Brain not work.
Yeah, Abby texted us and she was like, I fucking hate this book. No, she didn't.
It's true. I did. And then everyone was excited because they were like, oh shit, really? And then
I wanted hater Abby, and then we pressured her.
I was actually just working Abby on like 2 brain cells. So I am literate. I can read it. I was just having a moment. So
yeah. Fair enough.
Overall good though.
Overall good. And you know, when we're talking about they're leading us one way and we're pretty sure we're going there, and then surprise there's another way. Who better of an example than Vince himself? So in the process of kind of unwinding Vince/Edmund's identity, his true identity, and looking for the book, and there's like some time that Vince just leaves for a while because he's like, it's too dangerous for me to be with you, it actually turns out, and by the way, I fully believed, okay, hold on, sorry, I'm all over the place because I'm like obsessed with this. There's deep lore with Charlie and Vince and Edmund, okay? Spoilers right there, but the deep lore is that at some point Charlie was like young, she was trying to steal from the Salt's house for this whole thing, she gets in like a lot of trouble, and basically Edmund, we think, like helps her escape. Right. Yeah. The presumption is that Edmund helps her escape. And so you kind of have in these flashbacks this like past like I don't know, like there's like a romantic thing happening in the past, and you're like, oh, it's so sweet that like they found each other as like adults or whatever, and and like he knows this lore and she doesn't, and she's whatever. But it actually turns out that Vince is Edmund's shadow. And he's legit just a fucking shadow out here. And but it was Vince that helped. It still was Vince. It just wasn't Edmund that helped Charlie. This makes no sense to anyone who didn't read the book. I understand. But like,
Vince is shadow. Edmund is person.
Boy.
Edmund is boy.
Yes.
Dead boy.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And for most of the book, you think that Vince is boy, but Vince is actually the shadow. He just is like a tangible shadow.
Yes.
Fantastic reveal.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
Okay.
I loved it. I'm obsessed. Literally no notes. I loved it.
I totally saw it coming.
Okay, like, Kaylee. Always you with the I saw it coming.
It's in my hot take. It was so obvious. I'll explain it in my hot take, but there's a reason why this was really obvious early on, okay? Anyway, I'll say it in my hot take. So
despicable. Well, can you say if you enjoyed it or not, at least?
I loved it. Oh, I loved it. It was so... I loved it. I think it's so cool that we get to see that shadows have real, like, they can have real emotions. Like, we don't really get that feeling. It seems like this might be the first time that we know of that this has ever happened, that a shadow, like, actually has real emotions and can get like feelings for another person, because we know that they're kind of tangible and they can kind of think for themselves, but we don't think of them as like sentient, I think that's the right word, sentient beings, like, you know what I mean? And I love that idea. I think it's so unique, and it takes the whole shadow daddy like trend to a whole new level. Okay,
the what?
you guys never heard of it?
Like
Shadow daddy,
he's like
Hello?
like a dark
like
character,
like Asriel from Akatar, and like
I
books
didn't know
like
that
that.
they
Like people
called them that.
on TikTok and Instagram refer to them as like shadow daddies. So this is like 3 steps above that. Okay.
This is
Nobody
definitely
knows
making
what
it
I'm
to the
talking
Instagram.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh,
The way
I
you
shouldn't have
just
said that.
casually said that. It's so funny. You know, guys, like the shadow daddy thing. Huh?
I have regrets.
I didn't know that's what they said.
Yeah, the
That's what
dark
they
and
used
spooky
their
boys.
saying.
I get it. I get the vibes. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Bat Boy, but it's Shadow Boy.
Yeah,
Shadow Man.
Bat Boy. Ugh. I'm so sick of Akatar. Can we never bring it up again, please? For the love of God.
Oh, you know we're gonna
I
bring it
have
up
bad
anyways.
news, dude. It's gonna come up. Yeah, it's what the people want. Okay.
It's not what the people want. It's not my people.
It's what Abby and I
What you
wanted at the time.
Ugh.
So don't judge us.
Ugh. Anyways.
Anyways,
Vince.
yeah, I was a fan of it. I was a fan of it. Okay, I will say the exact. So the critiques I had. No, I'm saying the critique I had earlier, I think, is the exact reason why I didn't see this coming, because I feel like we got a really cool prologue. It's a prologue, right? Yeah. Prologue where you get the like scene with Vince / Edmund, aka Shadow and not Shadow.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember this? The prologue where they're like chasing each other, like
Yeah.
playing, and then they do the things like the blood, it like strengthens the shadow.
Mhm.
That like we get that reference to the shadow. And then so much happens. And besides just things happening too, there's a lot happening. There's what's the bad shadow? Remember there's like this like evil
Adam.
I'm not explaining it well. No. There is, or no, it's the thing that's killing. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's a big. There's another bad, not the big bad. But there's a thing going around killing people.
Yeah, the hash slinging slasher.
Or,
yeah,
I think that's it.
Basically.
I think it's the hash slinging slasher.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
we're just gonna
be doing that.
Hash,
Let's be real.
There's another bad going around, and I was like, oh, maybe this has some connection to the shadow.
Yeah, I thought that was Edmund's shadow.
Yes, I was diverted to him. I was like, oh, there has to be, and
which
I think
we're
she
supposed
intentionally
to be.
sets. We're supposed to do that, right? So at the beginning, that's what I was thinking, and then honestly, I was focused on so much more throughout the rest of the book that I kind of don't know why, but I was just like, oh yeah, Vince doesn't have a shadow. It's fine, whatever. It happens. Life happens. Surely that's not a big problem. And then it came back around. So I think she did a really good job of sprinkling the little things that we're supposed to pick up on and be like, oh, surely that's what it is. And then got us with the twist. Except Kaylee.
Yeah, except for Kaylee. No one ever gets Kaylee with a twist. We know this. In every episode, there's a twist, and she's like, yeah, I saw this coming because she's so smart.
You have to understand it's because I make it my mission in every book to figure out how it ends. I look for the clues. I'm like taking notes in my notes app. Like I am gonna figure out the twist. And so that's what
I love that, honestly, though.
Yeah, no, that's very cute. I love it.
Have Kaylee edit your book because she'll tell you if she'll tell you the ending.
No, because then I can't judge if the twist is a good twist because she's gonna be like, yeah, I saw that coming from the first page. And I'll be like, fuck, now I have to make it worse. I have to make it harder.
If it gets past Kaylee,
there are some books that can't catch me off guard, you know,
she's
like
too
Serpent.
good.
Serpent really, I did not see that one coming, so there are some that can do it.
Yeah, I did scream.
Okay, anyway. I did too.
Yeah.
I was like shaking, like it was crazy.
I want to say one more thing about Vince before we move on. I'm sorry. I just want to say, in relation to the prologue, Abby, I really liked the implication that part of the reason that Vince, dare I throw another name at you, Remy, Remy grows so strong is because he was like literally cared for and fostered, which goes back to what I was saying. Like the Shadow's development is very dependent on like the emotions they receive from their person, and a lot of people use them as like weapons, and so they grow in like this like negative fashion. But Edmund, I guess because he was so young or whatever, they were like besties and they were so cute, and it makes it so much sadder that like Vince is without Edmund now, because he literally lost, I mean, he lost his person in many ways. But it's just like the implication that like shadows are more than, it kind of is giving like in sci-fi books when they're like the androids and the cyborgs and the blah blah blah, like they're treat them better and they'll whatever. It's kind of giving that, but with shadows. So I'm a little more into it because I'm not a sci-fi girly. So I like that part of it.
Yeah, and I feel like it again lends to the creepy factor though too, because it's very wholesome, and also I think, or at least for me, I was kind of on the edge of my seat, particularly with that prologue of just like, is he going to turn on him, right? Like, because that trust and strength builds, and because they're closer, you also get a sense of getting very powerful, and that could go wrong, right? Like so it's cool, it's creepy, it's very sweet and also really creepy at the same time. So very cool. I like it.
For sure. Okay, so we've said all we can say about Vince.
I don't know about that.
We'll move on to the plot. The plot. Okay, so basically, Charlie is like, she's super clever. We've already established this, and of course, she finds the Liber Noctum in Salt's safe. And it turns out this book doesn't actually contain anything useful. It's just a bunch of, I don't know, randomness that you can't do anything with it. And Salt is just hiding it because he basically like wants to control anyone into like doing what he wants them to do. And so he tells them that there's this powerful book, and if they find it, it can like solve all their problems. So he gets them to like murder other people that he wants dead, or like he uses it as an excuse to murder the people who can't find the Liber Noctum. And so basically Charlie ends up outsmarting Salt, and Salt ends up being killed, and it's unclear whether he's killed by his shadow or by his granddaughter, ? But anyway, that's not really important, I don't think. So this whole thing,
yeah, I'll be honest, I forgot that, but
I know. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I just assumed the shadow got his ass, to be honest.
Well, but then Charlie points out that there's blood on the granddaughter's hand, like blood all over her hands.
Yeah, no, you're right. I remember now. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're so right.
Yeah. It's cool.
Oh my god, because the shadow chose peace, but the human chose violence. Consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, this whole thing felt like a whole cheesy murder mystery movie where it's like, you think this happened, but really this happened. It's a big whodunit, and then like it's like it felt like that to me. But I still really liked it. Okay, like I'm saying that gently. I really liked it. I was here for it, and I was invested because I like those kinds of movies. You know, I'm here for the like, where's it gonna go? What's gonna happen? And oh, you thought this, but it's in the safe, and you know, like I was here for it. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked the con artist versus con artist versus con artist play. Again, that underground crime syndicate, like who can do the biggest con sort of thing. I simply feast. I enjoy it enough that my brain turns off, and I don't be Kayleeing in the notes app to figure out what's going on because I'm just having a good time. Head empty.
It's head empty. But then we miss important points, Maddie, like the fact that
I forget them immediately.
The daughter could have killed him.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, a fairly decent plot point. So
I like Shirley. I don't know. I don't know what I remembered at the time or not. Cat
sighting if you're watching on video. Yeah, no, I really liked it. I didn't mind the scene, and I actually really enjoyed when she was calling salt on his bluff in front of everybody, like the drama of it all, and is obviously very clever. The one part they kind of moved to the parlor. I don't know. I feel so fancy saying that. To the other room to like I think they were like discussing it further, like the little group of them all. That part definitely felt a little bit more kind of telling rather than showing, which like fine, they're all catching up, they're all figuring out the pieces together. Like that part could be one where, again, minor criticism, I was kind of like, didn't love that scene as much, but the actual party scene where she kind of exposing him in front of everyone, though, that did eat. So
yeah.
It ate.
It ate. It simply ate. That's it.
Well, with all of that, in the very end, so after all
That's
this
not
talk
the
we've
end.
done of,
Yeah.
so that's not the end. Close. So in the very end, it's decided that Vince will be someone's shadow again for the definite future. He's basically just until everybody can kind of trust that this shadow person, if you will, shadow being, is safe, kind of uncharted territory, and he has killed people, so they gotta trust. And so Charlie basically begs them to let him become her shadow. But there's kind of this back and forth. At first, he doesn't really want to do it because I think he doesn't want to subject Charlie to that because it is a big deal. But they do it anyway. And in the transfer, he forgets who Charlie is. So once he becomes her shadow, there's this really devastating moment where like she's trying to basically talk to him, communicate with him, and he does not remember her at all.
And he's mean.
He's mean.
He's a sassy little shadow.
Yeah.
Which like devastating, crazy ending, devastating, but also makes me really want to watch how it plays out in the next book. So
yeah, because
a great way to lead
we
off.
should also say that like we said that there was something missing in their relationship early in the book, and what was missing is she didn't understand who he was, but once she does, she remembers like how good he was to her and like how in love they are with each other, and like so we get this ending and it's like it's very crushing.
Yeah,
like,
it's heartbreaking. And like,
it is.
To be fair, like she loved Vince the whole time. It's just they were blocked at a certain point from like having a deeper relationship because of like all their secrets, because she's keeping secrets from him too. He doesn't fully know her history and like what besides, it doesn't matter. As far as she's aware, he doesn't know. So yeah, it is literally, I'm not even being dramatic, heartbreaking when you realize that he does not remember who she is, and that I knew something horrific was going to happen because I trust Vince, and Vince was like, I don't think we should do this. This is a bad idea. And Charlie is so stubborn. She was like, no, we need to do this. Because I was like, why do you even want him to be your shadow? Like, relax. Like, he's not dying. You can still go talk to him or whatever. Like, you don't got to be weird about it. Because then if he's your shadow, like, I don't know, that's weird. The relationship is weird to me.
I think that's the only way they could communicate, right? Because I don't think people can communicate with other people's shadows. Like,
I don't know. It just seems a little. It's not incestuous, but it's like, girl, it
does feel a little.
It's like
to be
masturbatory.
Yeah. It is a little. Now that you say it's a little weird, but to be fair, it was kind of a little weird before. Just different, but
okay, but we didn't know it was weird.
True.
It's not even like a person though. Regularly,
that's rude.
All
he is a
person. Oh, sorry.
He is a person.
That's right.
Yeah, he was a person. How dare you?
You know what it's giving though?
I'm sorry.
It's giving The Vow, the movie and the book The Vow, where she like, you don't know what I'm talking about, the Nicholas Sparks movie, where she like
I know of The Vow, but I've never seen it.
He has amnesia or whatever and forgets their whole relationship, and he has to like win her back, and that's what it's giving. I think that I'm really hoping the second book is like her trying to like remind him of all these things that have happened, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be so cute. I'm gonna love it.
I agree. And I love the fact that he seems so like his like default state is so like sassy and abrasive, because I just know it's gonna be like, it's just gonna be good food where it's like he's so grumpy and blah blah blah, but then like he
Grumpy
does
sunshine or
things.
something.
Yeah, he like does things that show that like he's starting to care, and she's gonna be like, haha, I saw that, and he's gonna be like, no you didn't, just suck a toe type shit, you know. And I love that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm just, but it was heartbreaking. Like when I tell you I screeched in my car, like I specifically remember the intersection that I was at when this line was read in the audiobook when I read it the first time, like years ago now. But like I screeched. I believe I also cried. I might have been on my period, but I believe I also cried because I was like so shocked. But
That'll do it.
it was a great time.
That's
you know?
that's a heavy hitter. The whole like memory trope. I look for any way to bring up the Hunger Games, of course. You know that I think especially too when you've built up like already pre-existing trust issues, but also like really deep like care for each other. You know, already have a pretty solid foundation or at least intrigue around a relationship, and then to like and have to watch them completely rebuild and to know that it will never be the same, no matter what. It will never be the same. It might be better, but it will never be the same.
That is a great parallel because Hunger Games also has the childhood lore, destinies intertwined type thing. And I think that's what really got me in this one is like they have lore. They saved each other, you know, like as kids, teens, whatever they were, like as youths. They saved each other, like they're intertwined, they're destined, and Peeta and Katniss had the same thing because of the bread story that we get told like 50 times throughout the series.
True.
But it's true. It worked on me.
It hurts.
It hurts.
That shit hurts.
That shit hurted.
And never be the same. Never be the same. Even if it's good, even if it's better, it will never be the same. And that still deeply hurts. Even when it gets resolved, even when it gets good, like they will never know each other like that again.
I'm sad all over again.
No.
Thanks,
I'm
Abby.
depressed. Now we got to talk about like Song of Achilles just to really round off the freaking depression. Because sometimes I randomly think about Song of Achilles and make myself depressed all over again. Crazy.
That last chapter.
Blocked. Unsubscribe.
Unsubscribe. I actually don't want to think about it. Thanks.
All right. Let's not think about it. Let's instead talk about. It's time for everyone's favorite part of the podcast. It's our hot takes and our pour overs. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start. So hot take. This is probably like the worst thing that Abby will ever hear in her life. I think the book should have been longer. I wanted more. I wanted more side quests. I wanted more lore. I wanted more friends. I wanted more thievery. I wanted more cons. I just really enjoyed myself thoroughly. So I would love if it was longer. I say that knowing that it's probably means that it was the right length, that it left me wanting more. However, selfishly, I still want more. So serve it up on a
Consider
platter.
a second book.
I want more Adam.
Consider a series.
Yeah,
sure.
Sure.
Consider yes, a duology, a novella, if you will. That'd be great. Let's do our little side quests over here.
A prequel.
I
Series we like. They had a amazing novella. Yeah, over here.
I guess. I'll just be happy with what I have, I suppose. That's really it.
Much to consider, Maddie. There's a lot to chew on. Okay.
There are a lot of options. I just didn't really have a good hot take because I just genuinely enjoyed I enjoyed my stay, and there's not much more to say. I just loved it here. Pour over, obviously, Vince. Love him, Remy.
That's it.
Remy Vince, I think of you all the time. And like after I first finished this book, there was like a solid month where I was like side-eyeing my shadow, like, you got some shit to say, bro? Hey, unless, hey, you want a little blood, brother?
Fall in love with you, like.
Me being weirded out by the ending, and then at the end being like, unless. But what if they're on to something?
That would be wild. I'm here for it.
Crazy. That's it.
That's the tea.
That's the tea. That's all I got.
Okay. I'll go next. My hot take is a bit spicier. Okay, so this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how this book's actually kind of predictable, but there's this chapter. I think it's like chapter 21, 20, something like that. But it's called The Scholar in the Shadow.
Bro, she's got
And
receipts.
I know. I was like,
basically what happens in this chapter is Charlie is like in a cab or something, I don't know, and she picks up this book that's there and it's called The Scholar. Or no, it's called The Shadow. And what happens in this little side story, long story short, is that the scholar has a shadow, obviously, and the shadow becomes a sentient human being and goes and like becomes rich and like does all these things. He becomes rich, and the scholar becomes like enslaven to his own shadow, who is like a human at this point. So I think that chapter should be cut from the book because that's what made it so predictable to me, because that was the point where I thought this is foreshadow, not the slave part, but the shadow becoming like an actual being part. It became like super obvious to me that that's the reason why this like little chapter was included in the book. And I was kind of frustrated by it because I wanted to be surprised at the end. And I was like, if this is really where this book is going, I'm going to be super disappointed. And I didn't end up being disappointed. I love this book, but I wish that wasn't thrown in there is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Your mind.
I think that's fair. I think the way I must have translated that when I read it the first time is like that must have supported my initial theory that the shadow was just like on the loose being like a terror. And like Edmund was like, oh, so sad, like he got villainized, because like the prologue also leads you to believe that's like a possibility, right? Is like the shadow turns on him or whatever. So I don't remember if that's plausible at the part of the book where you're talking about, but it also sounds like the kind of thing, not to throw shade, it sounds like the kind of thing that a publisher or an editor would be like, you need to add this in because people are going to be really confused by the twist. You need to add like a little something for them to like latch onto, and then they're like, okay, because it sounds ridiculous when you describe like, oh, that's so obvious that it's there. So it sounds like,
yeah,
my girl wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that wasn't in the first draft.
Yeah.
Not Miss Holly Black.
Not Miss Holly Black.
You're probably right. I could totally see that. Oh, that was my.
I feel like too. No, I think you're right, Kaylee. Like,
yeah, it's
thinking about that now. I'll be honest. I think I skimmed right there because to me it was yet another little.
Not the
aside.
skim.
Not the skim.
She's a fraud.
But there were. I got bad news, guys. But for there was this other scene where I think it was Edmund and Shadow. Human and Shadow.
Remy.
And sorry, I'm not gonna remember the names. There's the one that's the shadow and the one that's not. And then there's a human friend that's a girl. And I feel like there was like this kind of scene where, did it feel flirty to you guys, or am I tripping? They were like at a party. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, is this?
I don't remember this.
Talking about the whole sister thing where it leads you
not
to
the
believe
sister.
that Edmund and his sister had a relationship.
Not the incestuousness. Oh my god, it was real.
Or cousin. It's a cousin. Sorry, it's a cousin.
The cousin. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. I
there was an interesting vibe.
Yeah. There was an interesting.
There's a weird vibe. I don't remember all the details, but there was a moment where, again, maybe my reading comprehension was bad, but I was sitting there and I was like, oh, Shadow might be kind of like flirting. I don't know.
The shadow is a heterosexual. The shadow is not asexual.
The
curious.
Is a dude. Curious. Yep. So anyway, there are other moments where like I kind of picked up on that idea, but to your point, Kaylee, it seems like that is really weird to be that explicit about like explicit.
It's too much. It's too heavy-handed.
So I think your hot take is
it's giving YA.
Yeah, you're right.
It is.
Valid.
But I still love it. Anyway, pour over just the ending, period. Ending. I'll be thinking about it. I'll continue thinking about it. It's, like we said, heartbreaking, sad. Sad face.
True.
All you, Abby.
Yeah.
Take the mic.
You already know what my hot take is. A lot of stuff needs to be cut. Sorry, Maddie. It like if there's gonna be more added to this book, then dear God, throw in a novella. But I don't cut the whole thing with Adam. Cut the weird party scene where it's like one of the bartenders and they go to party. I'm not saying there can't be little moments. Okay, not saying that. There was just a lot. There's a lot. Haley's example right there. That needed to go for other reasons, but also, why
That
are we
did.
talking about the book in the cab? There are so many books to be had in this story. There's the
There
one
were a lot of
that's
books. That's
There
true.
the
are a lot
journal
of books.
thing that Adam has. There's the main book. There's this one in the cab. There's the journal pages.
Mm-hmm.
And you know me, I
It's
hate
a
a
little
book.
much, okay?
Like, on God, like, stop with the
Oh,
books.
That's true.
Cringe.
Right, like we're switching to audiobook at this point. Okay, I don't want to see a page.
I want tape
Right?
recorders.
Jesus. Yeah, exactly. Put on the radio. Damn.
Damn. Why
Yeah.
would we
Listen,
writing?
listen. I have a proposal. I have a proposal for you guys.
Okay.
So Maddie wants this book to be longer, and
Uh-huh.
Abby wants this book to be shorter. So what if we just don't change the book and we just keep it as is? Have you guys thought about that?
We meet in the middle.
I guess.
We meet in the middle.
I will accept a
guess.
novella of like give me some more early years Charlie. Give me some more
You know what they could do?
Vince and Shadow. Or Shadow and
Yeah, the shadow POV of that scene of the Rand Charlie scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of
I
Vince
want
POV.
like a
would
Barnes
be
and
good.
Noble exclusive did I say Noble or Novel? Barnes and Noble exclusive extra 15 chapters
No,
at the
I
end.
said
Not
Noble.
15, but like 2 of like that scene or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
A hardback that's like
Yeah,
slightly
Holly.
different in color and $20
Yeah.
more and has like 2 chapters extra.
Great idea.
Yeah, I would buy that. I'd buy that.
I'd purchase it at Holly Black. I'd purchase it. Consider this.
I can do a
I'm pretty
novella
sure-
or different POVs. I will allow that, like as a bonus material.
I'm
I'll
pretty
allow that.
sure if you are like a subscriber to her website, I remember back in Cruel Prince era, she wrote some like card-in POV chapters and released them like through an email newsletter. I bet she's doing some shit like that again. Holly Black, I know your number. All right. I know your vibe. I'll go looking for it and you better feed me. I need more Vince.
I would read that.
Me too.
I would definitely read that. But outside of the main book.
Gworlies want it.
Outside of the moon book.
Anyway, my pour over is just
I'm sick of this girl.
Ladies.
What's gonna happen now that Vince has forgotten Charlie? Who's to say?
He's gonna fall in love again, simply.
That's it. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Imagine
Well,
it's
that is what's gonna
insta-love.
happen. What's the journey to getting there?
It won't be insta love.
I'm
Does it
gonna
count as
just
insta love?
from his POV.
You'd be like, damn,
surely.
she kind of bad though.
Well, because he could.
Insane.
Oh my god, what if it's like Stockholm
Helping.
syndrome? Like he literally can't leave. Like he just has to start loving her. Like
What if they create the bar scene again where he first meets her and goes up to her and like in the bar? I would scream. That
I
would
would
be so
perish.
cute.
please, at Holly Black.
My feet a little bit over that.
We're writing this book for you.
Ugh,
Anyway, sorry, Abby. We derailed.
yeah. Did you say everything? You
That's
needed
it.
to
That's
say?
all I had to say.
Okay, slay.
That's it. Yep.
Okay, that brings us to ratings and fave parts, and then we'll be done. So my rating, 4.5 out of 5. It might even be like 4.6 out of 5. Just took a little points off for predictability. And then my fave part was where Charlie figures out who Vince really is when he's in the jail cell. Jail.
We in that
cell.
jail cell. The Tennessee
Hard to
jumped
say.
out.
Yeah.
It jumped out.
You know what I'm trying to say. I thought that scene was really good, and you could feel the tension, and it was like building up as she was like, wait a second, like really putting it together. I liked that. It was good. Good soup.
Good soup. Good soup. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I just enjoyed my stay. I was head empty,
Yay.
no thoughts. I had a great time. Would do again. Can't wait for book 2. My favorite part, obviously, was the flashback scene with Remy/Vince saving Charlie in the salt house, because my heart exploded into a million pieces and I fell in love with him instantly and never again would question any of his decisions in the rest of the book. So that was it for me. That was the nail in my coffin.
That was a really good one. That one.
Mhm.
Right in the heart. Right in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Rating, I had 4 out of 5. I might even bump it to like 4.3 out of 5. Because like I said, I really enjoyed it. I am simply dumb. So I don't want to be.
You're
I
not
don't be handheld.
dumb. You're literally the most academic
dumb at
reader
all.
in the call, Abby. No offense,
That's
Kaylee.
true.
She's literally getting like her master's in shit. But like,
Listen, I apparently
Abby be
was.
reading
I
the
was.
most
No,
I was
nerdy ass books.
struggling.
On God.
I'd be like the 9th house, I think.
Oh.
So
Damn.
The shade is so real.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's true. I will admit, it is true that I like Ninth House. I'm sorry, I'm outing myself here. But I'll give it like a 4.3 out of 5. Great book. And then great book.
Great
My
book,
favorite
one of the
part
greatest
was
books of all time.
greatest books of all time.
Everyone is saying this.
Everyone is saying it. Even Colin. My favorite part is probably the same as Kaylee's, when Charlie figures out who Vince is, of course. But I will get back to really liking the gore of this book. I like a gory scene. When the guy gets attacked in the alley, when Adam is.
She loved when Adam died.
That's
She said, "Please."
FBI is gonna be coming for Abby.
Based.
I'm
That
just
was
like, when that
great.
man dies in the alley, I ate that up, and the FBI is like listening in right now.
Oh my God. Free her.
Adam just found this like disgusting scene in the house. Oh my God. It was good
Wretched.
gore. It was good gore for a
Good
fantasy.
gore.
So wretched.
Yucky. Yeah. Slay.
That's what
So
I got.
if everyone has said their piece, that's all the tea that we have on Book of Night. Next time, we're going to be reading a new release that's been advertised on Instagram a lot. Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. Not our Kaylee. Disclaimer, not our Kaylee, unfortunately. Different Kaylee. Still probably great. Not our Kaylee, though. So not the greatest Kaylee. You can stay up to date on the latest tea on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube by following us at Spill the Novel Tea on all of the things. And the Babadook. It's almost Halloween, everyone. We are literally Delulu. Okay.
That was such a good segue.
While you're there, let us know, do you disagree with the reviews on this one? They are pretty harsh. Because I also did what you did, Kaylee, and looked at the reviews after I finished. And I said, God damn. Okay. Tea.
I'm gonna go read them after this because
they're pretty
what the hell. Anyway.
wild. I don't know. And I'm like, where are y'all reading these other fucking books that I know y'all rated 5 stars out of 5 stars, but you have the most minute criticism of this book and you're knocking it like 2 stars off? Like, BFFR for reals. Don't make me.
Because they were expecting another Cruel Prince, but whatever.
It ends with us 5 out of 5.
A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, 5 of 5.
6 out of 5.
We're not haters. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, okay?
Including us. Just saying.
Including us.
Exactly. It's true.
We will see you next time.